Good evening and welcome to today's Monday Live. Just back from France, James and I last week, having a little bit of wine and some golf, which is very enjoyable.
A little bit.
It was only a little bit. Cumulatively less than a little bit, but great fun. And for those of you expecting Matt Williams, it is not Matt Williams and was never meant to be Matt Williams. We have Matt, Guy the Gorilla, over here who will display some long hitting.
Maybe.
If we can persuade him nicely. But no, very, very happy to have Matthew on the live with us today. Some interesting results this weekend on tour.
Yeah, I mean, where do you start?
Let's start DP World.
Okay.
Because that was a monumental 14-shot win. I mean, so I switched on as they're on the practice ground. They go, okay, this young lad, talented boy out of South Africa, 5 shots ahead. And then Mark Rowe was saying, yes, he looks like he's coming out. If he comes out of it a bit, he might be in trouble. And then went birdie, 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 the first 3.
Yeah, shot 63, ridiculous. Final 2 days. Talk about that as a way to close out a tournament.
I mean, any win doing that is impressive, but 14 shots.
Yeah. It's one way to make 400,000 euros or whatever the top prize
was. It wasn't a bad field.
No, no, not for DP World these days. It was a pretty good showing. Then in the US, there was 2 events on at the same time.
Yes.
You had the Myrtle Beach and then the Tourist.
So
can't say I would have put either of the winners on the top 3 of people I was expecting to win.
So I'm not actually sure who won the Myrtle Beach one.
Schneiderker.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
One for the old boys.
Yeah, nice to see a
Very
man
impressive.
you haven't seen in a while lift a trophy. So, yeah, I can't say I would have backed either of those at the start of the week.
No, but Christopher Reitan, I think the thing with him, he's proven winner on DP World Tour. He did well. He was going solidly at Masters. He did well the previous week. He was, I think, 4th on the top 5 list, or 5th on the top 5 list for the re-rank to get into that event. Narrowly ahead of Jordan Smith. And then, I mean, it's the young Europeans are doing quite well this year. and Fitzpatrick had a stumble at the end, but a lovely interview from Reitan on Saturday saying how blooming nervous he was, and ultimately he's just trying to kind of go with it and enjoy it. But he was like, I am nervous, but I'm just trying to kind of play through it a little bit. It was nice that someone was that honest, actually.
I'm just going to press the TV remote. All those TVs are turning off.
And the other bit, I mean, watching because I didn't start to watch the whole thing, watching the last couple of putts, he looked like he was hyperventilating when he had, before his 1-footer to win. But I think, lovely story. Comes across as a really nice chap as well. But yeah, I mean, what a huge win. I mean, that's a big tournament.
If nothing else, that's a nice bonus check to go in there, in the pocket.
And, Ludwig solidly up there. He was tied 6th. Tommy Fleetwood up there. Fitzpatrick up there. And Højgaard.
Some interesting names coming into this week, that's for sure.
Ricky Fowler.
Yeah, Fowler was not a name I was expecting to see back up there.
It's almost a bit of a shame, actually. He's someone I always kind of quite pull for, actually, when I see him. I've always kind of quite liked Ricky. But it's totally unexpected. Maybe it was.
I feel like he goes about the game the right way for the image of the young. Even though he's been around forever, you still see him as the young guy that wears orange. I think he'll always be seen as that.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens next week.
And so obviously this week, major week. Now we have a Rolomic on the simulator, and I happen to have played it 8 years ago.
He's only mentioned that twice today so far.
No, not often. Not often. I think the thing with it, when I played it, my takeaway was these guys are going to rip it apart, and that was, I think, that would have been just before I think they played a FedEx Cup final event. Justin Rose lost out narrowly to Keegan Bradley there, and it was just a course where I thought, if I can shoot a decent score around there, then I'm nowhere near as good as these guys, and so it'll be interesting to see course setup, whether they go the brutal, thick, rough.
I think if they don't.
But the east side has been drought conditions.
Yeah.
It's been really, really dry, so it'd be fascinating to see the conditions it's in.
Yeah.
Removed a huge amount of trees since I played it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So that will be interesting. But who's your money on? Just a easy question.
Do you say anyone but Rory?
Was he? Why? I'm gonna throw it out there. I'm gonna go Fleetwood. Just because it would be romantic, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I can't see it. Yeah. Sorry, I can't see it. Who knows? Ron might have a few more 2s on par 5s and
Yeah, one that no one saw.
Yeah, there's only one piece of footage, and that's from a social media phone for Legion, whatever they are.
Yeah.
That seems crazy to me that we're at such a major event for the live guys, and not every group had cameras at the fairway and the greens, that they didn't catch an albatross on a par 5. Just,
I mean, the whole, as we went on last Monday, the whole live thing is a whole nother subject matter, which we won't go into today. But yeah, if it does go belly up, then it might, sound like something happened. Yep, we're good.
We're back.
Apologies, it's the one. We jinxed it by saying, since we've gone to this streaming, this has never happened. So, just to very quickly loop back on the live thing, and saying if it does all go belly up, then I think my hope would be that a lot of the players start to seem to have softened, and I think it's a case of I think they just have to requalify.
Yeah.
Ultimately, that you've gone, it's happened, and if it does have to find a way, potentially DP World Tour could benefit quite a lot from people doing a Patrick Reed route.
Yeah.
But ultimately, you just got to qualify.
I think there'll be some scary Monday qualifiers coming up.
Or just so you go through whatever process it is. Q school,
even if they get invites to final Q scores they're starting, they've
still
got to go through
any
something.
again.
Yeah. Right. Question time.
Questions. JBill8802, evening Simon. Looking to switch to graphite iron shafts to help with golfer's elbow. Not fun. Currently play Modus 120X. Would you have any graphite recommendations to start testing? So, I know that kind of weight, there aren't going to be too many. I mean, in terms of at that sort of weight, you've got. What do you have? Yeah. And so there's the Acura, the TZI 115s.
Yeah.
That's going to be in the right kind of ballpark.
To be honest, off the top of my head, that's probably your only, because you've got
VA Sinister 110.
It's just parallel. It changes the
parallel. Yeah, that's true.
LA will be
LA's too counterbalanced.
I think
Axion's 125. They're heavier.
Steel fiber. They do the 120.
125.
Oh, it's 125.
Yeah. There's a little bit of a no man's land there at that weight.
Don't go that heavy. They go 120.
They go 105 and then 125 again.
Yeah.
I think that the Acura, the TZIs and the 115s, because those are also a constant weight as well. That's probably your best bet overall, I would say, to not lose a bit of feel for the club head end of the shaft, which the Moduses do, but to have something that sits in that right weight category, that would be my first port of call, I think.
Yeah, it's whether or not it's that or the ICWT.
I think the TZIs.
But the TZI probably has a
from the Modus
feel-wise, probably has a slightly tighter feel.
Yeah. Andy B764, evening gents. This question will probably get asked many times. Are you able to share any info on the new Titleist GTS woods yet? Keep up the great work. Other than Wednesday, we're allowed to start fitting with them, and that's when we can start talking about what's going on with them. Sadly, not. It's so close.
Two more sleeps.
And you know what? What I will say is, from what we've seen of them, what we've tested with them, there is a progression. I think it's fair to say.
Some of the stories you see from and you hear from the limited media stuff they've done on some of their tour guys and some of the guys involved at Titleist, that they talk about their product and say, wow, we've seen a tangible difference, not just it's the new one, I have to play it. It's I've seen 2, 3, 4. I
mean, I'm not going to lie, the 4 odd mile an hour gains for those guys, I don't buy personally. I think if they are gaining that, they're gaining it through, it could be a bit of aerodynamics. I think raw ball speed, I don't see, from how fast GT, even TSR has been, I don't expect to see that kind of ball speed gain.
Not from centre strikes.
But I think the overall performance is what we're sort of seeing initially. But I'll kind of hold it there just to be safe. But I think the fairways are a little bit more different. I think those would be quite interesting for some players. So. Mr. Forbes, S. Forbes, hi Simon, the cat's out of the bag regarding to my birthday present. So Stephen is of a certain vintage this year and coming up for an iron fitting. Should be coming to see you on the 11th of June. What irons do you recommend for a single-digit low-spin player? Thanks. So there are a few. I think you've got T100, I240. Certainly two that straight out the gate that I'd look at.
I think depending on dynamics, I would lean like P7CB does a pretty good job, I see, of picking spin up without picking flight up.
Yeah.
Because I find that something like I240, where all the tungsten's near the bottom of the head, it pops launch as well as spin.
Launch a little bit, yeah.
So depending on flight window, you might find that P7CB is a slightly nicer option, but ultimately you're in his hands, and there's a few other people you want looking at your golf swing.
In terms of spin-wise, I mean, the spin side of things is, I mean, there's, depending on how much you want to go there, I mean, the head weights could be a bit heavy. We have just got the artisan irons in, and they were pretty good at retaining a bit of spin.
Too heavy.
But the head weights are pretty strong. But there are kind of probably 2 or 3, I think. But you know, those the 2 that immediately stand out would be the Ping and the Titleist. But as you say, you know, the CB, the Titleist, the TaylorMade is pretty solid as well. Yeah, the other than like an S3 Mizuno where there's no forgiveness at all, you then go to the M13 and it starts to pop a little bit. So yeah, but we'll find you something. Yeah. Happy birthday, by the way. No. H Ash FAQ 0786. Evening, Simon. Looking to get my first fitting, but my strike can still be a bit inconsistent, and I occasionally have a two-way miss. Working hard with my coach and have had 10 plus lessons so far. Would you recommend getting fitted now or wait until my swing is more consistent? Thanks. So, I had a chap in this afternoon who's been playing for less than 6 months. And your strike could be inconsistent because your clubs are not working for you. Now, the only way of knowing is to have that fitting. But ultimately, you're doing the swing work, you're doing the technique work. And if you started doing that, then we're going to see the trend that you're going down, or your fitter will see the trend you're going down.
I would say as long as you're not mid-major section of the change, you know, as long as you've got some form of base to the change and you're, you know, two-thirds, three-quarters of the way there, go for it. I think if you're still at a point of you're making major changes to swing path, swing line, you know, then I would say hold fire until you feel more comfortable with that. But if you are most of the way through a change to a point where you start to feel a bit more comfortable about how you move it and what you're trying to do, go for it.
Yeah, I think that is the key. You haven't got to be 90% there, but if it feels like a different sport, that's probably not the right time to do it, which sometimes it can do. So I think, as long as you're through that initial bit, and just let your fitter know what you're doing. I think be as open with it as possible and say, look, this is what I'm working on, this is what I've come from in terms of shot pattern, this is what I'm seeing now. Then the good fitter can then pitch and say, okay, right, where are your better moves, and we can fit you for that because that's where your average move will be. So shouldn't be a problem at all.
Just communicate.
I think that's the key thing. Green Tea for Two. Great name that. And by tea production soon might be screwed through global warming, so we might all be on that stuff. Recently had a driver fitting with Jasper. He put a Vanquish Green 4-shaft into my Ping G430 10K head and has turned it into a great driver that I can now feel where the head is. Thanks. Yeah, fantastic.
Good to hear.
I was waiting for the question, but that's great stuff. And so Jasper's in the far bet at the moment. I will pass that on, and thank you for coming in. It's great news. Kev T, evening both. What are your thoughts on the F1 clubs, and are they worth it? So, we've known about these for a little while, and had sort of conversations with the guys, with Neil Howie about the product, and I fitted a couple of the guys from McLaren a few weeks back, and actually performance-wise, the blade, you still have to get up the face. My feeling was it's got the tungsten in there, but internally, but you still had to get strike up the face to get the best out of it. Very pro end. It makes a lot of sense why Justin Rose would want that from a design, because he's had a key hand in it.
Yeah.
The three heads, one visually are quite neat in the crutch end, in the kind of into the hosel, but actually performance across the face, I'm genuinely impressed with. I think it's a head that it's not an absolute cannon, but it's fast enough. And it's very consistent on spin. So I think for me, it isn't that absolute bomber. It's not going to beat a Ping i540 for distance. But if you want kind of bit of moderation to that flight, but feel-wise, that's where, I mean, it was standout better than anything else in that category. I think from
I wasn't here when we had the heads in because we only had them for a few days, so I didn't get a chance or see any of the numbers. But from feedback I've had from you and from kind of conversations I've heard of the other boys that were in the building, I would say a conversation of are they worth it? It's the same question of do you think the Cobra 3D printeds are worth it? If the answer to that is yes, then the answer to these is yes. That's kind of how the impression I got from the others is it sits in that same bracket of performance and feel, but with, for some people, a more attractive name than the Cobra, because some people still have that thing of Cobra and it still being the club with a snake on it.
Yeah, and I think the one thing I have to say about McLaren is this is not a partnership they've done. This isn't just them putting a name to something. This is, and they've had people in other industries come to them to do aerodynamic testing, using the wind tunnel, looking at airflow over it. And they're going, hang on a minute, others are coming to us. We can do this ourselves. And they themselves have done the metal injection molding. They are making the heads. This isn't just a partnership that they're sticking a logo on. So it is something that that waffle in the back is about weight saving. Everything has a purpose. The sole shaping is a little more interesting than other brands as well. I think that heel relief, back edge relief is quite interesting. So yeah, it isn't just a ex car manufacturer making golf clubs, but just taking a blank from somewhere and putting their name on it. And oh look, it's a X brand, therefore we're going to sell it over to someone just because they got the car. Obviously, McLaren owners will want them, but I from what I've seen, they stack up performance-wise. Yeah.
We'll have to see.
EROE. Hello, gents. What's the difference between the Callaway Elite 3HL and the Quantum 3HL? Not an awful lot.
I didn't want to say that.
Elite. Well, no. Elite is a very good head.
Yeah.
So, number one, Elite. We did a ton of the Elites. The Quantum. I think the Quantum is a little bit more solid feeling.
Yeah. I think it's a little more stable on spin out of the toe side, which has always been Callaway's downside.
Yeah.
It's always been fairway wood and Callaway. If you hit it out the toe, don't bother. But I think it's a lot more stable this year on managing and maintaining spin. Obviously, if you get it real toe side, it still goes. But if you go a little bit toe side, it will keep the flight up for you, which is something which was always my one reservation with the Elite.
I mean, if anything, I think the Quantum's a hair lower spin than Elite. I think that's
it just
that's where it's a little
more.
different. It's a bit punchier, but it does. Whenever we're looking for a shallower head, we're still going that or the ping.
Yeah.
But if you're looking for more flight, ping. If you're looking for strong flight, the Callaway. But if you've got an Elite and it's working, then it's marginal shout. And it is a different sleeve, so you can't just switch heads over. But yeah, slight difference, but it's not earth-shattering.
Yeah.
Nick Kerso, which graphite design driver shaft would be the most similar to the Ping Tour 2.0 Black 65 S Flex?
Is there one? I don't know that they're...
Because of the balance point, no.
Yeah, that's my thing, because
it's
Ping is...
an FI with a CQ balance.
Yeah. Yeah, I just don't think they make a graphite design don't make a shaft high enough balance with enough counterbalance to get close in feel. I don't think you'd find one. If you really wanted to force yourself down that route, I think finding a CQ6 and just
tipping the heck out of it.
Yeah, just tip cutting it, not touching the buttons, you might get there, but
even in the butt section on the Ping Tour is still going to feel firmer.
So much firmer.
I think if you're wanting to go down that now, it might be a little counterbalance, but the Sinister CB, the VA composites, that would be the one that would.
That's the most logical. Just looking at, I think that is the most logical.
Yeah. Or a Deramax. The Deramax, the 07D in the 6. That's a 66, 67 gram.
Yeah.
That's. You may never have heard of that, but we've got those, and they are stunningly good shafts.
Yeah.
Made with Olympic materials, Olympic make fly fishing rods. The quality of graphite is off the chart. But that would also be an option as well.
When they came back from the trade show and saw them, he was proper excited about it, and I wasn't so sure. I trusted him, but I wasn't so sure.
Skeptical over here.
And then we got the demos in, and I hit them, and I was like, okay, I will have one.
Yeah, and the difference, for you in particular, is that the different flexes, you still get the spin stability and consistency.
I could have played
which the material quality was impressive.
I could have played the 4R or the 8X, and the spin number didn't really change.
Look at that.
Jasper just appears with them.
Like the shopkeeper, Mr. Ben, just appears out of nowhere.
Mr. Ben.
Can't believe you actually know who that is. He's waiting for that. So these are the shafts. So the 7D is the blue one here, which is counterbalance. It's got boron in the butt section. Or is it Kevlar? Might be Kevlar. On the butt. It's Kevlar on the butt section. Stabilizes the butt, stiff tip, really kind of dampens vibration down, but strengthens the butt section as well. So that would be a great option as well.
That would be a great, something different.
If you want something that no one else has got.
Yeah. If you want to get the driver out on the tee box and everyone looks at it and goes, what's that?
The finish is cool as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, Martin D.
Yeah.
Hi from Sweden. Can you describe the NS Pro 1150 iron shaft? What more common shaft is most similar? Do they play soft or stiff in flexes? Great content, 100%. Well, thank you for the comment about the great content.
I mean, 1150s been around a while. They swing heavy-ish to weight, I would say. They're not overly harsh through the midsection. You
get enough feedback. I wouldn't say they play soft to flex, but you definitely get a little feel through the upper section of the unload. But at the bottom end, it still plays quite stable.
It's kind of like, it's not designed quite to be this way, but it's kind of like a light dynamic gold.
Yeah.
Whereas the dynamic gold in the 105, 120s get tip heavy, this one isn't quite as much. So it's a fairly smooth shaft. It's in theory mid-launch, mid-spin shaft. What else is out there like it? Not a lot.
No, not a lot.
Because of that softer midsection in that.
Sometimes I might see someone change into it from either a Modus 120 or 115, depending on what they need as a change, because they kind of sit in that similar weight bracket and feel. But I rarely see, if someone's in the right shaft in what they've got, I rarely see
a fairly inoffensive shaft.
1150 come out to match against something else.
Yeah, because it's kind of, there are other shafts that are more stout, other shafts that are more responsive, but it kind of falls in that very much in that middle ground.
The only other one
is an awful lot though.
The only other one I'd maybe float out there and see what the wizard says is Dynamic Gold Mid 115.
Yeah.
Dynamic Gold Mid 115, and then just toy around with the flex to find the right one from a.
Because the mid uses the tip a little bit more. The 1150 uses the midsection a bit more, but
then just fine tune based on feel and flight. But that's probably your best.
Yeah, I go with that.
Best other option.
Yeah.
Polo 1928. Good evening, Simon. Have you got anything new in the bag for this year?
Not yet.
Do they know about the 4-iron change?
Oh, 4-iron's a while back.
Okay. Yeah, I know, but I just don't know if you mentioned it.
Yeah, I think I did the 774 iron of my old PXG to get more flight, and that's been good. 5 wood's going to be in the bag more often this year. One thing I am going to be doing is I am going to be looking at the one of the Daramax shafts, the CDX or CX, CXD in the 6, in the double X, because I can go up stiffer in this. Because of how smooth the materials are, I like the firmer feel of it, but it sits at 61 grams versus the 64 in my current one, and the spin stability, directional consistency of this was ridiculous.
We got them in and tested them, and I think you could have played catch if you went and stood on the target line. 6, 7 of them in a row, maybe 8. No, James, don't throw your hands up. And I
wish you could see the expression on his face.
I genuinely think of this, the 6 drives you hit, 4 of them landed on the line and the other 2 were 1 yard either side. It's like, I know you hit the ball boringly straight, but that was a difference.
And I want to see what the GTS and the QI4D do. I think if I'm going to change drive, I don't think I'm going to pull that driver apart. If I am going to change, it'll be a complete change. And a few grams less to hopefully get a bit more speed. And then if I can gain a hair out of the head as well. But that's the one, I need to update my wedges. They are SM8s and SM9s.
Newer than mine then, 7s and 8s.
Yeah, but you spin the heck out of yours.
Yeah, it's funny. We had the when we had the 11s come in, I tested them and it touched 15,000 on a full one. It's like, okay, I'm not getting new heads.
You have to land it on the next green.
Can I have last year's demos, please?
So that's probably the only thing that this year is in consideration.
Yeah. Virtuoso Blacker. Evening, gents. looking to get a new 7-wood to replace my QI10. Is there a tangible difference between 10 and 4D?
Yeah, I think ball speed's going to be up on 4D.
Yeah.
4D's better low on the face. That for sure. It's whether you find 4D launches a hair higher than 10, but I think 10 was a great head. Across face 4D is just a little bit better.
Yeah,
it's been really good, especially if you're somebody who squeezes it a little bit, hits down a little bit. It's been a really good head this year. So I think, just across the face, better consistency.
Paul M. Hi guys, picked up 3 and 7-wood G430s built by Precision. C6 blue, 70 shafts, great clubs. On the lookout for a 434 hybrid. Would the C6 black shaft work? And could you build one up? So in terms of building one up, if you can get hold of a 430 head, yeah,
430s held a bit more spin than the 440s.
Yeah.
So actually quite not a bad head from that respect.
C6 blue in the fairway to black in the hybrid. Be honest, probably the answer is...
There is the 80 in the hybrid, but...
I would personally not necessarily follow that trend. I think it's the... Both shafts are great. I just don't think they talk to one another.
Hybrid's a little bit of a harder feeling shaft.
As a follow one to the other. I just don't think... It's very rare I see someone who works for the blue in the fairway. It's very rare you go into the... You keep the C6 family going into the hybrid because it just doesn't feel...
Swings a little more bottom end heavy.
Yeah, plays a little harsher.
Yeah. What would I go into otherwise? I went into the hybrids. You'd probably... you might go into something like a Fuji Pro. Yeah. The Pro Blue profile. That's a really smooth profile. Yeah. That's going to probably feel a little bit more similar.
Maybe a GX. It's just whether or not they start to either get too loose in the blue, or then too harsh at the weight when you go up to the green.
Yeah. Okay, Fuji Pro is probably the more natural progression.
Yeah. Dolph ZDD. Evening, gents. Thinking about replacing my 19-degree SLDR 5-wood with a Fuji Kuris 77 speeder tour shaft with maybe a more modern 16.5 HL3 wood. I'm trying to create some separation between my 3 and 4 QI hybrids. I mean, makes sense. Yeah. I guess the question is, where would you suggest, what head maybe to create more separation?
If you're in that tailor-made head, QI4D is a natural one.
Yeah.
I mean,
they do the 3
SLTR were freaking brutal. Yeah. When they were good, they were absolute bombs, but when they weren't. But yeah, I think the 4D, you're going to get ball speed, you're going to get a strongish flight out of it. It's going to let you squeeze it, and like you will do the SLDR, you're going to get a similar shape, but a heck of a lot more performance. So that's probably the one I would be going with. Yeah, I think it's hard to really, especially coming from the SLDR. I think 4D's been standout across the face this year, I think. So
yeah. Daniel Winterbottom. Hi gents, I recently got fitted into Axiom 105s moving from Modus 130 and have KBS TD driver shaft in the driver. How different is the TD and the Axioms? I guess just maybe a concern of...
I'm not necessarily TDs.
But I don't think there's...
TD is a kind of funny shaft. When it works really well. It worked really well or shite. Yeah. Excuse my French. But in terms of that was a sort of separation of them. It was either awful or brilliant. And when it was good, it was standout. Yeah. I would say the Axioms are probably a little tighter feeling, if anything. But it's the TD is a stable shaft. So it's not a combination that arouses alarm, I'm going to say. Yeah. Yeah. It's not one where you go, that doesn't sound right at all. So, you know what, heck, if it's working, certainly there's a bit of balance point, similarity, and general profile consistency. It's not a million miles out, so yeah. Yeah,
agreed. David says, here to wind you up, any thoughts on how you might prevent future pillow theft? For context on their little trip to Bordeaux.
There was a little bit of silliness. As happens when you get a group of children together and alcohol, I'm just grateful that all my golf attire was still in the room, golf shoes and things.
I can't believe.
But somehow access to my room when I had the room key on me was obtained, and certain elements of bedding were removed or put in a cupboard. So what was the question again?
Any idea on how you may prevent this happening in the future? Ban him from going?
I mean, well, Alex would do the same thing. No, I don't know if you can prevent it. I think just responsible hoteliering. I think,
What's your preferred way to mark and identify your golf ball?
I think something that this again has something to do with something that was written on my golf balls.
Yeah, which will not be repeated.
But I think a letter of the alphabet was probably, because also if it's the right shape of letter, it's a good alignment aid when you're putting it.
There you go. Yeah. That's well.
Was that politically answered enough?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, thank you for those questions. We did have one. We did have. I'm not going to lie. I haven't laughed so much constantly for 4 days. Was hilarious. So no,
it was worth the suffering.
It was a huge amount of fun, and I take the evening entertainment alcohol fuel. I take what was done to me as affection, rightly or wrongly.
EROE is back with another question. Is the Wilsons with the bore-through hosel and notch in the back the most forgiving blade? Blades seem to be all that is left with a 46-degree pitching wedge. They also feel great on quality strikes. So the ball-through is a look rather than anything else.
It isn't actually a ball-through. I mean, is there a forgiving blade? No. You could argue proto concept with that ceramic. I
would say either the proto or the Shrixon. I think the Z Forged get slept on because they're not really a blade. They're not a blade shape in the same way that you get with all the, when you talk about a blade and you think MB 101 from Euro, you think 620 MB, there's a lot more to it. But if you want that look down, I think, I think Z Forged might just push the Wilson as a, and feel-wise as well. I mean, that's just...
Yeah, that's good. But I think the proto concept where it's got the ceramic insert in it, that is, to all intents and purposes, a blade, but does definitely look a little bit more playable. Or if you want to go there with it, then the Cobra, the 3D printed. That 100% is going to look and feel like a blade, but give you more performance. Yeah. Just double the price.
Yes. Simon Langford, evening gents. Good to have you back. The Shrixon representative is coming into our club next Monday. How highly do you rate their wedges? That was difficult to say. And could you do a quick test against Vokey? So I'm going to go round and grab just a 50. 56 in both,
I think ultimately, Shrixon Cleveland wedges are great quality. I think what they've done with the Z alloy, they've gone to material that doesn't corrode, that is more durable, that is just a soft feeling. They've innovated quite a bit with that, and I think performance-wise, we've seen some lovely results out of them. Their grinds aren't for everyone. They do have quite a strong sole progression. The full's a little bit less progressed on the leading edge, but then you get a heavy back edge. So the mid grinds have quite a rounded sole. So we do quite a lot of the tour rack of the raw ones and then grind those a little bit. But the low's nice. I think materially and performance-wise, I think they're very good. Consistency of product's very good. Ultimately, Cleveland as a brand are known for their wedges. It's pretty much all they're doing now. I think what they give is a nice alternative too. I think performance-wise, strong performance. The interesting thing for me is, did you mean to get the full face one?
Oh, sorry.
That's right. The interesting for me has always been I've stayed in Vokeys because I've spun them better. And I've wanted to change, to have something a bit more niche and interesting, but I end up just going back to them because they just get more performance. We're just going to put this on a shot that's relevant. What do you reckon about? Yeah, that'll be about right. About 80 yards.
Change that? Oh, it's place ballless, this one, isn't it?
I don't need to be hitting this on a 220-yard shot. So, in terms of general performance, this 80 yards, that's just a little kind of knockdown swing with a 56. So they do have, I think, a softer feel than the Vokeys. I think the material, the Z alloy, does give that little bit more softness to it. If you look at that, it's 9.2 on spin for a 77-yard shot. So, you know, not bad at all. Let's play that once more. Coming a little bit lower on that one. Just about not carried, but that just shows my wedge play up. But I
should have left it on the first one.
I should have left it on the first one, yeah. But again, 8.7 at a 68 yards. So it's quite a lot of spin, though. I just reined that back a little bit too much. So certainly, if you tend to get a little bit of shaft and you're playing a softer turf where you want a bit of leading edge protection, that sole shape on the Clevelands definitely gives you something that very few other brands do. There are some coming in that have got a little bit of leading edge progression. The 14s have it. One of the Mizuno, the T3s have it, but they're a slightly more kind of tri-grind sole shape. But you are seeing more and more of that leading edge grind. And going into the Vokey, and just popped it up a little bit more. Slightly harder, crisper sound off of it. But if we're looking at one that's 80-odd yard carry, that's generated a good bit of spin. Where we get 9.1, so very much the same spin as the Cleveland, but a little bit of a higher flight. Let's see if I can bring that in a little bit lower.
That's probably a fairer test
A little bit.
To the first one.
A little bit of a lower flight there. Get in. So 9.4. So that's generally what I've seen for my action out of the Vokeys. I tend to see a hair more spin, but you know, others testing are going to see different results on that. But you know, if anything, it is the Vokeys are a little bit of a clickier feel than the Z alloy that you get on the Clevelands. But you know, the sole grind, that leading edge, I'll show that onto here. That front edge on the Cleveland there does mean it doesn't suit everybody, because if you think the difference between the crown and that leading edge is quite a lot of bounce. So if you're someone who kind of picks it a little bit more, plays tighter turf, then either you're going to have to do some grinding on them, or you might consider a different sole.
Yeah. Very well, very concise and very well displayed.
It must have been good.
The first cut, QI4D core seems to have a two-way miss compared to GT3. Tight draw with GT3, but get flares right with 4D. Both have same shaft. Head design difference? Question mark.
No, shouldn't be. Not that much. I think, well, if you've got the weight back on the 4D core, that might be one of the reasons.
Yeah, because it's tight draw, so it's from the inside.
Yeah,
probably.
So weight is going to be forward more on the GT3.
GT3.
Weight sits a little more forward. If you put the weight forward on the 4D, that should replicate more and may stop it. So I find weight back, I get the head dropping underneath, and it means I've got to correct it a bit more. So you might be experiencing that. Otherwise, our head weights, our swing weights different, because there's just not enough structure difference between those two heads. Weight forward, if anything, QI4D might be a bit lower spin weight forward, but there's just not enough structural difference and design difference to create that two-way miss out of those two heads. So either head weight, double check swing weight, that you're matching those up, or if the weight's back on the 4D, put the heavy weight forward, and that should sort that out for you.
My initial thought was head weight. So right. Oh, sorry. Following on from that, probably doesn't change your answer much, but just to add context, both 9 gram weights in the toe side on the 4D, A1 T1 setting on GT3.
So yeah, I think
it's probably head weights. If you weighed the two, I'd be intrigued. I think there'll be a difference in the head weights. One swing weight wise clearly works a bit better than the other.
Yeah. That would make sense.
Yeah. EROE again with another one. What can you tell us about the premium Vanquish shafts?
I mean, great quality materials.
And they are very, very good quality material.
Yeah, I mean, in the green, this was quite interesting. In the green, only the 3 is made in Japan. Yep. So Mitsubishi have a few factories. And post-COVID, a lot of production has been separated off so that they're not all the eggs aren't in one basket, so that if an area goes down, your production ceases. So there's a little bit of spread out. That doesn't necessarily mean one's worse quality, but the 3 in the Vanquish Green are made in Japan. Mitsubishi are one of the few companies that make all the components, pre-pregs, everything from make the graphite through to manufacturing the shafts. So Vanquishes the green's really stable, not harsh feeling, but really stable. The blue's a little bit more responsive and more kind of mid-spin. I think they've done a really good job with them.
Yeah.
I think, really great quality.
Yeah, I think it's definitely one we will see. I mean, we do a fair few of them anyway, but I think we will see more and more people switching to them when they get a chance to test them.
I think what you get out of those is a stable enough profile where something like the Autoflex or some of the TPTs have a looser feel, they're not as loose. And I think that's something where some players just don't like that kind of element of floppiness to those lighter, softer flex, like the lightweight in the TPTs. I have to make myself swing through that feel. Doesn't mean they don't work, but it gives a slightly more stable alternative to some of those other shafts.
Dean Johnson, love the hairdo, sir. Thank you. Your turn next, Mr. Cooper, to join the bald hair crew.
I've still got plenty on mine.
Oh, careful. And he says he's coming up with Stephen on the 11th.
Based on, well, I would hope so as well, because based on the abuse you got in the Bay when Stephen came with you,
you better be giving it back.
No, if I'm like my mother's side of the family, they're all bald. My grandfather and both uncles, but my dad had a full head of hair. So
I don't know what that feels like.
So
my dad was bald at 16. So the fact I got to 25.
My high hairline, that hasn't moved for a long time.
No.
So cling on to it as long as I can.
Alistair Mack, evening gents, got my newly fitted clubs out for their first round yesterday, and honestly they felt incredible. Only 2 missed strikes, which just never happens. Huge thanks to you guys. We'll be back 100.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Well played.
Yes.
Takes the player to do that as well.
Yes,
we'll take a lot of credit, obviously, but no, like it takes you to do it. I think it's one of the things that you often say to people is that we can get the club set up right, but you still got to go away and make the swings. So well played.
Aerials Plus. Hi gents, I have the TPT shaft 16 high in fairway woods. Would like a same feel and launch in iron shafts. What would you recommend similar? What a question.
16 high in the fairway, that's around the 70 gram mark. No, 16, no, that's heavier.
It's more like 78,
that's more like
isn't
78. They're really smooth shafts at that weight.
Where would you go to as a weight?
You're probably going in, you know what, there's Oban, the CT 115s. That's not going to be a million miles off. They're stable. I mean, I played them. They are stable but responsive, which kind of sounds like an oxymoron, but if that's the right word. Sound intelligent. But you get a bit of pop through the shaft, but they're not loose through impact. I think that it's just whether they're slightly high balance for you. But
I wondered whether something like you might say no straight off the bat, Project X Red 110.
Yeah, for the weight a little more down the bottom. Yeah, they definitely give it. There's a bit more, I guess, feeling of rigidity through the upper mid.
That's
so the middle section is going to feel a little bit more solid.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that would be another alternative as well. And maybe even something like a Nippon 1050 in the stiff. Or the X sounds like it's going somewhere really stiff, but it's not. That sits around 108 gram. So yeah, I think those would certainly be options for you.
Stephen Forge 89. Hi guys, my swing feels so awkward with my Vokey wedges with the Vokey shafts compared to my Mizuno irons. Could the shaft weight be completely wrong?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, depending on what's in the Mizuno irons, but it feels to me like it's either swing weight or shaft weight, just purely off of that. If you're saying the swing feels awkward when it doesn't with the irons, because ultimately you're putting the same swing on it, I would be inclined to suggest that the stock Vokey shaft, which is going to be...
I think it's the S200, isn't it? It's 130, still 130 plus grams. It's, I very rarely fit that weight, even in wedges. Isn't just sort of Vokey do this, but it's been around 60 odd years. It's dirt cheap. Heavy is control is the way it's always been thought, but it just isn't the case. It's just heavy. So chances are, if it feels a little clumsy, then shaft weight for me would be the one. I mean, the Vokey heads aren't light, although you can now get the lighter weights in the chrome, 6 grams lighter. But yeah, the dead weight in the shaft has always been right up there. whereas others are starting to tone it down a little bit of their standard shaft. So, but I would say shaft weight's the first thing I'd go to.
Yeah. Follow up with another question. What would the difference be between the standard Denali Red driver shaft and the Red Frost? I think the Red Frost was the secondary launch that was a little softer because they then brought the blue Frost and the black or the charcoal Frost.
Yeah, I always felt that the charcoals swung quite heavy.
Yeah.
And the Frosts tended, the Denali Red was a little higher balanced. That was the stock one. So kind of the Frost falls a little bit in between in that it's a much smoother profile than the charcoals were. Certainly something that when we talked to the guys at True Timber PGMC in January, that they were quite kind of amped up, but they're quite excited about that line. Certainly it was just a more consistent line across. So I would say it's probably going to play a little more stable, but a smoother feel.
And not quite as high balance as the original Red.
But not quite as high balance, yeah.
Yeah. Payno Swings has got a few questions. Good evening, lads. What's the favourite club in the bag, and can we view a swing with each as to why they're favourite? We will do. What shafts are like the Nippon NS Pro 750 Neo from Nippon or other companies? Well,
you got the Zelos 7, would be the only other one.
It's the only one that's steel at the same feel and similar feel and weight. There's not.
Yeah, no one else does a steel of that weight. No. You might find like a KBS Max, but if you're going steel at that weight, don't go any other brand.
No,
they are the best at lightweight steel.
Bar none. Is there such thing as a ball fitting? There is. You'll be there a long time.
Yeah, it's something we don't
offer. We don't offer it because ultimately it would need to do it properly. You need 4.5 hours.
Yeah,
because
it's just not cost effective to do it. The time that it would take us to do it properly, where you're testing with driver, mid-arm, wedge across different types of ball, different structures, different models, and getting. Yeah, it's just not something that's it's not viable from a business point of view for us. If you're saying within one brand, then that would be doable. But when you take across the different brands for feel, for fractional spin variables, and you wouldn't have enough swings in you to make it to get to an answer. I think is the answer. Yeah.
I'm going to answer the next question. What's your favourite club in the bag? And then give us a swing whilst I answer the next question.
God, look at his brain. Yeah. Well. It's the Chip R, the pink chip. No. Favourite club in the bag. Oh, look, well, it's just been,
Oh, he's been boring and said driver.
We came back, we went to Bordeaux for the wine tour, and there is said head cover. Cheeky little play on words. Was very good trip. But yeah, this has been one, and this is the bit that people say, well, why you consider changing it? The answer is I think I might be able to screw. Now, having not made many swings, this might not be as pretty as it would ordinarily be. This has just been so reliable for me. I might be able to squeeze, if I can get 7 to 10 yards, 5 to 7 yards extra, if I can move it a bit faster with the change in setup, that will make me change. But this has been, I've been able to just stand and deliver with it. And it's been a great flight. I can shape it. Just been something where I've had absolute trust in it. So, that's been. Oh, which hole have you put me on? 18.
Yeah, I thought let's give the final drive. Let's make it nice and difficult.
Right. So it's been something that I'm going to curse it now, but I've been able to literally just take dead aim up the middle and just hit. But I've normally warmed up a little bit more than this. But yeah.
The pop in the backswing of his lower back, and the fact
that is why.
Yeah.
That's why I've loved it. I can just stand and pump it up a fairway.
That's why, as much as
although I've missed it by a foot there. But,
as much as you're talking about changing,
it's gone 149 efficiency, just over 2,000 spin, and at a unwarmed up 103, it's carried 260, gone 275, and if I get this 7 miles an hour more club speed where I can get out of it, then you're at 300. So. That's why I've rather enjoyed it. Yeah.
Mine is a Frankenstein, because of course it is. It's a Titleist, the old Titleist U505 1 iron that is down at 12 3/4 degrees.
Oh, we got
loft.
that low?
Yeah, with a bit of heat and love, it got to 12 3/4.
So this isn't something we would do to your clubs because it risks breaking it.
But I thought, you know what, I'll give it a go.
You talk about me clicking.
That was a good elbow. Click that with a Kiyoshi purple 100-gram 5 flex. That is only tip cut.
It's only tipped. Right,
yeah. We didn't touch the butt end.
It's got a nice ferrule on it. That as well.
I'd like to point out I haven't been on the golf course in a year, so this hasn't seen light of day for a while. Just load the excuse up like you did.
Yeah.
And it just, for me at my distance, I don't see why I should hit anything but that flies 280 on a, not warm.
Knocked it past my cold
270 on
old
the fly.
arse driver swing. So,
270 on the fly,
having played
290.
with you last year, and whilst we've done a lot in the bay, and we'd not played, but your one iron was so reliable. I think I could squeak a driver past it if you're not quite catching it. But your flight with irons is fascinating because it's actually, look at it again, you can see the launch conditions are good, but because there's so much speed, it just gets so high. Yeah. And if you were to take driver out there, well, the clubhouse is at risk. But no, it brings in so much potential trouble that.
Right, we got some questions to fly through.
Right.
We are with Josh Gunton there.
Right. So Josh Gunton, I'm 5'7", around 102 club speed on course and 108 all out with driver. Goals 120. Ooh, for a shorter goal for chasing speed, what would you prioritise first and what mistakes should I avoid?
As someone that, I know I'm not 5'7", but I did the speed changes. First thing would be to work on the movements very slowly. I'm talking not trying to hit driver past 50 yards. Where you're trying to make such a big speed change, you're going to have to make technique changes. That's not just, I'm going to hit loads of balls really hard and I'll get there. For that much change, you're going to have to make footwork changes and weight transfer changes that are going to mean you need to do thousands of reps at 10% to understand how the body timing needs to change on load through the different stages of the swing. That I would really suggest doing 3 months where you're spending 20 minutes of every session trying to hit it no more than 100 yards. And then at the end, try and implement that at full tilt. And then it's just repetition. Once you feel comfortable with it, it's just repetition of just going at it. Sure, yes, by the end of 3 months, it will be, I need to spend half an hour at the end of every session hitting 40 balls as hard as I possibly can. And trying to get to a point of seeing that all out gets to 111, then try and sit at 109, not feeling like you're all out. Then go again and you'll find 113, and then 111 will feel quite comfortable. And it's over a few months again, it will be probably this time, to be honest, this time next year is where you could get to with 120 if you spend 3 months just doing technique work and then 6 months hitting it as hard as you can in staggered stages. Essentially, are you saying if you don't want to play any kind of golf with the rest of you? I think you have to accept that golf swing is not a golf swing you take to the golf course. Right. Yeah. Simple as. So, I mean, essentially that amount of gain is huge. You would still see you'd get on course to 108, 110. Yeah. But you're not going to get on course to 116 if that's where you're kind of hunting. Yeah. Yeah. So I think it's, what's your priority? Is it playing or is it just hitting it miles? Yeah. Pano swings, what's the difference between the Mizuno M Series and S Series for this year? So S Series is a blade and a muscle cavity. No tech, purists, absolute ultimate for feel and control. M Series, you have a bit of tech. So even the 13 has a good bit of speed off the face this year. Not low launching, but it's strong-ish. M15 is quite a strong flight, stronger than I expected it to be. They are forward flying. So they're a bit separated this year, for sure. Mike T990, hi guys, can a longer driver help promote a more positive club path for a right-hand player? Yes, but it could also do the opposite. Yeah. Because you then start moving so many other things around in terms of swing weight and body position that, okay, yes, it might cause you to move it that way and drop it in a fraction more, but it might not be under your control.
Yeah.
It might be dropping in because the swing weight's too heavy, and then you just leave the face wide open.
I mean, it's longer than what? So, longer club, if it gets out of sync, can get you out to in, because if it gets out of sync, you clear through and then the club comes through afterwards. But because you've cleared out so much, you can only go left with it. If you're right-handed, you can only come out to in. So I think be very careful of using shaft length for that, would be my, especially if you're at a kind of a full length driver at 45-inch plus already. Then perhaps it's just a bit of technique work and lessons that are going to do it for you, rather than trying to get the club to fix that. Pano swings, or any blades in the showroom that you think you can play, and can we see you swing them?
You play
blades anyway, so I could play all of them without wishing to sound arrogant. Still play my gamer clubs are 6 iron down, are those. So look, ultimately a blade is a blade. You're not going to find a forgiving blade, no matter what they all market, unless there is something structurally that makes it almost a blade on the outside and a cavity on the inside, like those product concepts. So I think anyone looking for the concept of forgiving blade, forget about it. It just doesn't exist. And that's what cavity backs are for. But if you want absolute feel and you struck it high up the face, and you get covered on top of it, then they actually can be more consistent than other clubs. So that does form a factor in it. And said, holy sheet, what context story did I miss with the sheet story?
With the pillow story?
Oh, no, we all got drunk, basically, and there was some high jinks, I think you would call it. Probably there wasn't anything untoward. It was all very good natured and quite amusing. Golf Nerd 3. What's the difference between Tensei AV Raw, AV Limited, and AV Blue? Marginal different materials.
I think
ultimately it's
from
similar platform shaft.
Yeah, from personal testing through the years, I'd say AV Raw was probably the most counterbalanced version of it that they did. I still wouldn't call the AV Raw Blue counterbalance, but it was the most counterbalanced. I kind of, as you go through those three, you probably get more tip weighted as you go. AV Limited was quite neutral, and then AV Blue got a little more tip end. But
I agree with
in
that.
terms of flight and changes and spin changes, not a lot, it's just feel.
Right, we'll crack through these questions as quick as we can, so we're nearing the end. Sully Sard, have you tested the new GTS drivers? Yes.
But also, no. No, the answer is yes.
Yeah, we have tested them. Do we like them? Yes. Can we talk about them anymore?
No.
2 or 3 more days and then we can. Absolutely. Albeniac 11, what are the biggest changes from Ventus Blue Plus 6X versus TX?
Is it a gram of weight difference?
Not an awful lot, is
half a gram, I think.
It's just tightened. So the Velocore Plus is more responsive than original series. So the TX just gives that tighter, firmer feel that probably realistically someone in original series on tour might have wanted that bit of extra tightness, and therefore you go into the TX with the Velocore Plus.
Although they'll then tip it on tour and make it softer.
Bradley Tar 699. After 3 years of my Callaway Paradigm irons, I've gone from a 14 handicap to a 4.3.
Good
Very
going,
impressive. And now with my level of ball striking has improved, I'm on the verge of buying the M13. Any other recommendations? I mean, look, you got T150. Very, very much 100, 150, depending on what spin profile you want.
770 might be a nice step between.
Possibly, yeah. Let's think, in terms of those, something with that little bit of IT40 is probably a little bit high flight out of those, I would say. Not going to get as much strength out of those.
I think it's that difficult question is...
ZXi7, ZXi5 as a combo?
7s might be nice,
7's in the short runs, 5 in the long run for a bit of performance.
The only question would just be spin and flight, because those paradigms are so strong. You're going to probably lose, no matter what you go to, you're going to sacrifice a few yards, I would imagine. Unless you bend them strong, you're going to lose a little bit of distance, because those paradigms were rockets.
But at 4.3, you're going to narrow your front back dispersion massively from that.
Absolutely.
So but damn good effort with the Golf there. Richard Skinner, Simon have Callaway X forged irons and Nippon 120 motor shafts, S-Flex Gamers, and Mizuno S3 with Project X 6.0 stiff. Pro said the Project X shaft is better for me. Compare shafts on one of the heads. I'm out of time now, but if they're better for you, you'll just strike them better and get tighter dispersion. They are structurally stiffer in the mid and upper section, The Modus are softer handle and stiffer in the bottom, but they are also 5 or 6 grams heavier. Yeah, the Modus in the S are 114 and the Project X is 120 in the 60s. So that will differentiate. You will just strike one cleaner and time it better. So me hitting them won't actually tell you anything different other than I'll hit them and go, one feels a bit stiffer, one feels a bit more responsive. So yeah, the firmer, heavier Project X, if that suits better, you will just find you can get more control and consistency of contact. Thai Guy 47. So I only hesitated because I wanted to make sure I was going to read the right thing. How much can you benefit from a new driver if using a Titleist 905S, but I'm hitting at 1.5 smash?
I actually think a Mini would probably be a more sensible way to go before we even get into what benefit there'd be. Because I think a 905, going from that to modern, just movement, realistically, if a 905 coming out at the right smash, I think a modern head will spin up too much, or you'll have to feel like you moved too much.
I don't know. I think with something like a GT3, I think what you'll gain is off-center performance.
Yeah,
I think it's 1.5. You can't gain ball speed out the middle, and they've been limited since before then anyway.
Yeah.
But you're going to gain off-center performance. I think it's just you just got to not go for a deep weighted head.
Agreed.
Yeah, I think you should
gain. Any of the LS models, even if because they're not, it's a couple of hundred revs. They're not massively low spin versus anything else. But I think any of the more compact players, low spin heads, I think are going to be a sensible choice.
Yeah.
I would love to have you go and test the Mini and report back on performance, because I think you might see that feels a bit more natural when you get the modern tech. But it's just making sure it's an 11.5 or something like that you can manage loft, and not a Titleist that's 13 and will feel like it goes up.
I think the one thing with the modern drivers, they're all long. All the stock lengths are 45.5, which we rarely ever build to. Your driver will not be that. So that's the one thing with the modern drivers is they'll need to be shortened down from standard length because you clearly do not need the extra length. But if you're going to go down a new driver head, the greater off-center performance is where there might well be a gain. I'm not even trying to pronounce Beiriti Neurotiz.
You tried anyway.
Hi fellows, what stock shaft is the best of the 26 bunch? And if someone didn't have the readies to go for the upgraded options, have actually seen the tailor-made shafts perform solidly. They're very neutrally balanced, but they have been pretty solid. The Ping, the Tour, Chrome Tour Black for stability.
Always good Ping.
Or you've got like a Tensei 1K Black, or they're coming in and out of stock a little bit, but they're pretty darn stable. Those are probably the ones that I would automatically go to. There are some that are non-upcharged that aren't in the standard fitting packs that you might find with some of the brands that are also very good, but you just don't see them very often. But I think those ones for me are the ones that I would straight away go to. Ping Altas for a quieter swing actually perform pretty well, pretty reliable, pretty inoffensive. Kevin, SCT, can I change grips myself on my fitted clubs, or does swing weight need checking 100 rounds played?
As long as you're changing to the same grips, you're going to be pretty close. There'll be small tolerances grip to grip. There might be 1 or 2 gram difference, but at that end, you might move it by 0.1, 0.2 of a point. I think you'd be probably, unless you decided to go from a 50 to a 55 gram grip to, let's say you went, right, I'm going to go Jumbo Max XL in the heavy one and it's 140 grams, then we'll have a different kind of conversation. But as long as you're going for like, you should be fine. If
you're in a standard size grip, it's rare you're going to move it that far. Just being careful of things like maybe a multi-compound, some of them go sub 50 grams. So that might make it swing weight a touch heavier than some other grips. But within the standard sizing, most are pretty close. So, Josh DB30, would you recommend more or less bounce for a bunker wedge like a 56? We tend to see a bit of a progression. If you're playing, say, 50, 56, 60, or that kind of progression, going more bounce in the middle one, and then tighter, certainly for UK conditions, then tighter bounce in the lob wedge, so you've got a progression. You see that on tour the whole time. They will rarely have as much bounce on their lob wedge as they do their sand wedge. They might go a full grind Vokey, or an S grind or a D grind on the 56, but then go down to an M grind or an A plus or one of those in the lob wedge. So generally slightly more, but again, that's a massive generalization. It's all about your delivery and your bunker and course conditions that dictate quite how much you need to go, but generally slightly higher. Golf No 3, have you noticed any drop in ball speed from Tour BXS compared to Tour BX?
We don't really have the Bridgestone.
They're due in, they were meant to be in by now.
But in years previous, because they're so tailored to, they call it swing speed compression. If you push over the compression point, they do have a bit of a drop off.
Yeah.
So I would just say make sure you get the one that's appropriate in their classification, appropriate for swing speed.
Right, that's these last few a little quickly. Philly Central, question 7. Who is your favourite fitter at Precision? I love all my children just as much.
It's only because there's some of them in the building that you say that.
Oh, I have a favourite.
No, you do. You're very good to everyone.
So I think ultimately choosing the right fitter for you is more about what personality type you're looking for. You get someone like Nick who is so expressive and he will entertain you as a personality. He's brilliant in that respect. If you want someone who's more kind of almost sort of straight to the point, serious, you've got Bush. Mark, if you want lots of stories about Seve, he's definitely a man.
And if you want someone to just be very plain and tell you facts, Tom Field's your man. He will just be. This is it. There's no.
Well, we haven't Mr. Jasper yet. What are we doing with Jasper?
Oh, he's hiding in there. We don't need to.
It's very sensible and clean and straightforward. Yes, there we go. Yeah. Niels Johansson, Ventus Black Vertical Plus versus Tensei White 1K. I would say.
I can't say I've done much testing of